What we have going on is that the advancement of real bottoms-up wealth creation occurred when entrepreneurs were out there building these small startups. They could hire people who actually wanted to work and contribute. Productivity went up, everyone's wages grew. But under the current imperialist model of capitalism, you have a few large monopoly companies, and the smaller companies, because of the lumpen proletariat that are developing, and we see this everywhere. I see it all over the world. A friend of mine has a company, small company in India, and he notices people come to work and they're literally not doing any work, and they're literally watching movies at work and porn at work. Same there and same in the United States. And then these same guys will show up and say, well, I worked so hard, I'd like a salary increase. The guy didn't work at all. So you have this phenomenon at these small companies are struggling, trying to compete with big guys. You have this lumpenism that's taking place, the lumpen proletariat. These are not workers. These are people who have in their head that if they can get a piece of the exploitative action, they're saying, wow, look at the rich, the quote unquote rich, quote unquote, very super monopoly capitalists, imperialists are making so much money. I just want a piece of their action. So the way I get a piece of the action is to do as little work as possible. That is not working. That's essentially trying to scam the system. You see people doing this in the worlds of welfare, in the worlds of where people who are able-bodied to work, they have no mental issues, they have no physical issues, but they scam the system. They figure out how to get unemployment benefits when they don't really need it, or disability benefits when they're really not injured. And they think by doing that, they are being very clever. You know what? I'm fighting the man. That's why in this definition I put forward here, the true definition of a worker is someone who actually values an honest day's work, values skills. They try to advance their own skills, but also they have no interest in profiting from exploitation of others. And they seek to fundamentally end all exploitation by uniting with other workers. This is a much more profound understanding of what it means to work. So if, in this definition, if you're a worker, you go to work, you know that the conditions of your employer, yes, he's using your labor, but you're there to work. You're there to give an honest day's work, but you're also connecting with your fellow workers locally, nationally, globally to try to look at the larger issues. Well, why are we going and fighting imperialist wars? Why is there inflation? Why are we going and poking the bear in Russia or Ukraine? Why are we supporting that? You start getting into the much more fundamental issues. You start recognizing that this quote unquote baby formula shortage has really to do with 3 companies which have now colluded with the government that they essentially own the baby formula market. You're asking these deeper and richer questions and trying to unite working people to end that exploitation. That is what a worker does. A worker is not about going to work, showing up at noontime, lying whether you had some sickness, scamming the system, and then trying to maximize your own profits, which is what imperialism does, or modern capitalism. Modern capitalism is about maximizing profits at any cost. That's what Abbott, Mead, and Nestle do because they control the supply chain. They can monopolize an industry or the banking industry, so they can rig it in their favor. So in my definition, a worker is not somebody who also takes on that same value system. They say, okay, they're exploiting me, so I'm going to exploit them. That's not a worker. A worker is someone who still values an honest day's work, recognizes that there's exploitation, and says, you know what? I am committed to fighting exploitation. So I'm going to figure out how to build a movement, what it's going to take to unite working people. Because the latter definition of worker, which is really not worker, but it's really the lumpen worker, the lumpen proletariat, are not truly workers. And what has unfortunately occurred is that the quote unquote left, the Bernie Sanders in the United States or the AOCs or the labor parties in Europe or Australia or India, these organizations and the politicians have completely destroyed what the term worker means. They're actually out there telling people to go on unemployment, to figure out how to scam the system. In fact, in India, what happens is the politicians on election time actually give bags of rice to the people, to poor people, give people TVs, literally give people laptops, bribe people so they do not work. So you have a situation where you can't even find working people if you start a small business to even build your business. The huge conglomerates don't have to worry because they can essentially hire as many people as they want. And it's fine if some people don't even show up to work because they can still continue. But what's coming out of this is the real entrepreneurialism, the innovation, all of that is actually getting destroyed. And you have total monopoly control because the quote unquote fake workers who actually don't want to work, they don't want to actually organize people, they don't want to unite people, they want to be, as this Reddit subreddit says, unemployment for all, right? This is their definition of worker, unemployment for all, not just the rich. So examples of this, someone just put Obama, Bernie Sanders, AOCs. Most of these politicians, celebrities, and all these people do not really, quote unquote, work, particularly politicians. What they're doing is they're going to poor people and telling them not to work, go on unemployment, but vote for me. So we're creating a whole strata of lumpen proletariat. Can you say that word? Lumpen proletariat. Lumpen proletariat is not a worker. That is not a worker. Lumpen proletariat is not a worker. We need to get our definitions clear. A worker is someone who values work, goes to work, and based on the conditions there, if they don't like those work environments and they think something's wrong, they're actually going to try to organize workers. They're not going to try to scam the system. They're not going to be watching, and literally this is happening, they're not going to be watching Netflix movies while at work because all they're focused on is their personal self-interest. So that it's very important to understand this definition. Nikolai Bakunin, who is another revolutionary theorist, he said the non-workers, a lumpen proletariat, lack discipline and the impotence to construct anything new. Very important definition. Working people actually want to create a new society. They want to create a better world for others, right? For their families, for their children. The lumpen proletariat, the non-workers, want to scam the system. They, in fact, have no interest in uniting working people. And most importantly, they will actually be used by the elites against working people. So I want to really emphasize this. The lumpen proletariat, the people, the gangsters, the thieves, the so-called people who scam the system when they're not really disabled, when they can fully work and they go on unemployment when they can't. This strata of people, which is, by the way, growing and who scam the system, are the ones who will be used by the elites against the people who are the hardworking people. And that's what I think we should be aware of. So when we say working people unite, we don't mean those working people. And I wanted to make that clear because some people are confused and they think when we mean working people unite, that means let the lumpen working people unite, let the scam artists unite, let the thieves unite. That's not what we mean. We mean hard working people who actually value labor.